Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October the 8th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. It's actually kind of cool today. Like, cool, almost nippy, I dare say. Definitely had to bust out the Uggies today. So, yeah, that was nice, interesting. I did a little bit of grocery shopping. Let's go ahead and actually get right into the food corner because I had some canceled plans. Unfortunately, my friend he got sick, so damn you, COVID. So I had to switch things around. So I just wound up just going into potato mode, hanging out, playing some card games, my usual, and but I still had a hankering for something. I didn't know what, and I settled on Little Caesars. I got the what do they call it? The 4-quarter calzone, aka the meatusy, like the calzone. It was a lot. I dare say I did not finish it all. I also got some breadsticks with it, all for a grand total of $12. Also, the meatusy, the calzone, it came with some sauce, so that was good. But let me, let me give you a lay of the land. So the 4 quarters was there was one that had sausage, one part that had sausage, one part that had bacon, one part that had ham, and one part that was pepperoni. And then in the center, like a square like thing that was binding them all was like a pepperoni plaza, if you will. It was like a carnivore city. It was a lot. So yeah, I ate like everything but like the ham. I think I don't know if I ate all the bacon. I don't know. It was all fog. And I definitely like once I was done, I didn't even want it to like linger in the house. I was like, let's just throw this away and forget it ever happened. But yeah, that's the food corner. It's usually not that glorious. Let's see here. Anything else I really wanted to cover about me? Any personal news? No. It's been the huge. Like I said, it's nice to be back to wearing clothes again. I'm in my signature little ratty hoodie, my little blue work hoodie that I no longer use for work. So that's nice. It's nice, like I said, to be in my comfy mode. And I feel like I'm definitely like sleeping. I was sleeping a lot yesterday. We was napping it up. Okay. Let me take my little startup and then we'll get into some news. All right. Our first story is from BBC News. Afghanistan earthquake. Hundreds dead in powerful quake. Hundreds of people are feared dead after a powerful earthquake hit western Afghanistan near the Iranian border. The Taliban government initially said the death toll could be more than 2,000, but later clarified that this number included injured people as well. The 6.3 magnitude quake devastated at least 12 villages near the city of Herat on Saturday. There were powerful aftershocks. Survivors described their terror as buildings collapsed around them. Rescue teams worked through the night to find survivors trapped beneath the rubble. The earthquake struck about 40 kilometers or 25 miles northwest of Herat around 11 o'clock local time on Saturday. So just wanted to, touch on that. I know there's obviously a lot going on right now, just Middle Eastern news. A lot of it's focused on, Israel, Palestine. We've covered that a little bit. I know it's just further developing and I know I missed some things, but definitely wanted to highlight this earthquake that happened too. Obviously condolences to, everyone who's going through that fucking situation. I know that, we've covered that the situation in Afghanistan is really hard because people are living well below the poverty line right now. Like, the inflation is crazy. The economy is just super fucking terrible right now. So when you have these kind of natural disasters on top of that, what can you do? But I know people, they literally just pick up the pieces and they do what they can. Hopefully, there will be aid and stuff that can, get through and things of that nature. Definitely keep you posted on that when I get any more information. Let's see here. Let's move on to the next beat. 6 suspects. Yeah. Oh, this is from the Guardian. My bad. 6 suspects in murder of Ecuador presidential candidate killed in prison, authorities say. 6 men suspected of involvement in the August murder of Ecuador's anti-corruption presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio have been killed in prison, the prison's agency has said, barely a week before a critical runoff election. Now, I initially had covered this story, I want to say, what was it, in September? I had thought that by the end of September, we would have, or even by mid-September, I think, you would have had the runoff, but maybe there was a delays or something like that, so it should be coming. But the killings took place on Friday in a penitentiary in Guayaquil, the South American country's largest city. Ecuador's government swiftly condemned the killings. Outgoing President Guillermo Lasso pledged neither complicity nor cover-up in getting to the bottom of the killings. He sent out a post on X, formerly known as Twitter. The SNAI Prisons Agency said in a statement the 6 men were all Colombian nationals. It gave no more details of the killings. So, I don't know. We might never find an answer exactly concrete on what happened, to these guys, how they got done up, what was the motive of the perpetrators, whatever. But definitely did happen. Another thing I'm glad they highlight that I missed in terms of coverage in Ecuador, Villavicencio was a prominent... Oh, wait, no. I thought there was another assassination. I think they're just re-highlighting this one. Villavicencio, a prominent journalist, was gunned down less than 2 weeks before a first-round general election as he left a campaign event in the capital of Quito. I think there might have been another person who was assassinated, but I missed them. They're just reintegrating the candidate, so my bad there. Saved myself a corrections corner, though, so that's always good. Let's see here. The runoff is scheduled for the 15th of October. So there you go. Or I should tell you who is the main 2 candidates in this runoff. Duh. President business heir Daniel Noboa, who holds a narrow lead in some polls ahead of the runoff, said in social media posts that the government must provide details of what occurred at the prison and that peace must be restored in the country. His main rival for presidency is Luisa Gonzalez, a protege of leftist former president Rafael Correa. She has said the surging crime is unprecedented, and the voters should not allow terror to stop them from voting for change. Hell yeah. Okay. On to the next thing. From the Associated Press. Police found 115 bodies at Colorado Green funeral home while investigating putrid smells. So this is definitely this one's a bummer. Not that the other ones have not been a bummer. I don't know. It's just we're talking about specifically dead bodies here. I don't know if this is like a trigger warning situation or not, but yeah, funeral home. So we've covered this kind of shit before. You kind of know what I'm about to get into. Okay. The awful smell seeped from a neglected building in a small Colorado town for days, followed by a report that made police take a closer look at the Green funeral operator's storage facility. Inside, they made a gruesome discovery: at least 115 decaying bodies. there were bodies everywhere. Bodies everywhere. Investigators were tight-lipped Friday about exactly what they found inside the Return to Nature funeral home in Penrose, Colorado. But their plans to bring in teams that usually deal with airline crashes, coroners from nearby jurisdictions, Your Honor, and the Febby. Man, this is totally my episode. And the FBI pointed to a grim mess. So essentially, they're bringing out a lot of people in a situation that seems like, this is like a fucking Avengers crime scene. And they're like, no, this is just a funeral home, yes, but we got to bring in the whole fucking team. A state document, meanwhile, alleged funeral home owner John Halford. Yeah, Halford. I can read too. John Halford tried to conceal the improper storage of corpses. He claimed he was doing taxidermy at the facility, according to the state suspension letter dated Thursday. Halford acknowledged that he had a problem at the property. The Colorado Office of Funeral Home and Crematory Registration letter said. The document did not elaborate on the taxidermy and alleged improper storage of remains, but the faculty's registration has been expired since November. So that's big red flag number one. And what I mean by that is like red flag on like, hey, the fucking state, where it's like, you guys have a whole policy here. You guys are supposed to be collecting fucking money for this shit. So this guy isn't coming through with his fucking shit. Shouldn't you automatically be on his ass already? Like something's up here, right? No, not really. They had to wait until literally someone called saying like, yo, this fucking there's a smell of death. Like, I mean, maybe they didn't know that at the time, but they were like, yo, something is wrong and I need to call the authorities. Also, I need to add too that no one's been arrested as of yet, which, okay, that's fair. They're still doing investigations or whatever. But, I think people immediately want answers when you go, oh, man, there's like an Edgar Allan Poe novel going on outside my house. What the fuck is up? And no one's been charged. Like, I would definitely want some answers. I would definitely want something going on. Some justice needs to be, found. Because I'm glad that they get into it. But obviously, these people, they're people that put money up for their loved ones to be, actually processed, so they could actually grieve and finish that whole situation. You know what I mean? Literally almost $2,000 goes into this whole process for, a green funeral here. And, there are people who are literally just not even able to finish the process of grieving for their loved ones. And that's very unfortunate. That's very sad. I'm sure anyone who's gone through this whole fucking process, like, imagine if before, the funeral, after the funeral, you don't get to know that the person was buried, or you don't get the remains. You know what I mean? I can't imagine that. Actually, no, I know a little bit of a way I can kind of imagine, because, like, I had a moment where I was like, man, like, I kind of, was waiting for my dad's ashes, and I was kind of curious what was up. And, it was a little bit of a miscommunication kind of thing. And, it winds up getting sorted out. But that kind of stuff, it does rattle you. You have to, like, actually go, like, oh, man, I do have to kind of put my grieving on hold or put it to the side, just to keep going, because my life still continues. But meanwhile, there's someone here saying, oh, I was just so overwhelmed. I had so much things going on. Ooh, woo. And it's like there's bodies literally stacking up. But you're taking the money. You're taking the fucking money, by the way. So, like, once again, I'm not letting this Halford guy off the fucking, hook here. At the end of the day, I think it's on him. I think it's on Colorado. And motherfuckers need to, really be checking their shit, man, for sure. This shit is not okay. And, if there is any update here, with Halford maybe getting arrested, even a lawsuit, something. Because there's definitely, if I find out that one of 115 bodies is one of my loved ones, ooh-wee. Like, there's definitely a part of me that goes, hey, once a person is gone, they're gone. It is what it is. You move along. You move on. But at the same time, I'm a person who is able to get my loved ones and know that they're where they're supposed to be, either in the ground or in their little box in my living room. You feel me? Like, Imagine if that, and that's the thing too. Like, this whole investigation is taking time. You don't just know, like, hey, so like, is my person one of those 115? Like, oh, they can't tell you that yet. They're gonna get back to you. It's gonna take a long time. So yeah, another fucked up story from the abyss. You know how it goes. We got one more thing to cover before I let you go. On to your Sunday fun day. Ooh, I'm gonna take my little break, and then we'll get into it. Whew. Okay, our last story comes from the Associated Press. California governor vetoes bill that would have banned caste discrimination. Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed a bill Saturday that would have made California the first U.S. state to outlaw caste-based discrimination. Caste is a division of people related to birth or descent. Those at the lowest strata of the caste system, known as Dalits, have been pushing for legal protections in California and beyond. They say it is necessary to protect them from bias in housing, education, and in the tech sector, where they hold key roles. Earlier this year, Seattle became the first U.S. city to add caste to its anti-discrimination laws. On September 28th, Fresno became the second U.S. city and the first in California to prohibit discrimination based on caste by adding caste and indigeneity to its municipal code. In his message, Newsom called the bill unnecessary, explaining that California already prohibits discrimination based on sex, race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, disability, gender identity, sexual orientation, and other characteristics. And state law specifies that these civil rights protections shall be liberally construed. Because discrimination based on caste is already prohibited under these existing categories, this bill is unnecessary, he said in a statement. Okay. I'll actually just keep reading here a little bit more. A United Nations report in 2016 said at least 250 million people worldwide still face caste discrimination in Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Pacific regions, as well as in various diaspora communities. Caste systems are found among Buddhists, Christians, Hindus, Jains, Muslims, and Sikhs. Proponents of the bill launched a hunger strike in early September, pushing for the law's passage during their campaign. Many Californians came forward with stories of discrimination in the workplace, housing, and education. Opponents, including some Hindu groups, called the proposed legislation unconstitutional and said it would unfairly target Hindus and people of Indian descent. The issue caused deep divisions in the Indian American community. Hundreds on both sides came to Sacramento to testify at committee hearings in the state Senate and Assembly. So, for me, I feel like Newsom fucked up here, yet again. I feel like gruesome Newsom just kind of waved this off as something that was unnecessary and unneeded. But I do feel like there's a reason that we have such a laundry list of these kind of things. And like, yes, California, adds that extra clause, like, look, we can interpret this to make sure that we can be more encompassing. But I also feel like this is a big enough issue that it should be added. And I feel like a lot of the people who are against this bill are people who are like in business, who feel like they could be affected in a lawsuit capacity. And therefore they want to protect themselves in that way. And they even go in the article to say like, hey, we want to make sure that like, in beating this bill, we are defending ourselves against like frivolous lawsuits. And they also add the undue persecution, but it's like, you guys aren't being persecuted. Like when you're and oftentimes I hear the people the loudest against this are people that you see are in the caste system that is higher up. And the people who are, in this Dalit caste system, they're the people who say, hey, I came from, my place of birth, in this situation, I'll say India, expecting, and I've heard other stories too of, people in Nepal where it's like, hey, I came from this place saying, hey, there was this way of living and I was at the bottom of it. And I came to America, the place of opportunity. And I get here and I find a community and I'm here and I find the same kind of discriminations the second these people find out where I'm from and who I am, like what part of this caste system I should be, and that's not fair. And I agree with that. I think that is fucked up. And I think if you have this situation even happening once, then why not have a law that makes sure that you completely stamp it out? You completely make sure it's not a fucking issue. I just see it as a strange thing to want to fight about and be anti. But I do like that people are like, hey, you know what's great? That we had a platform as people of this community and this caste system to actually say, hey, this is a real issue. This is a real problem. And I'm glad that I was able to hear this kind of story not just once, but like at least a few times so far. Obviously, it's a bummer. It's hella sad. Excuse me, I'm stifling a burp. To hear people go through the story. But I do think that it is important that you get a chance to be heard. It's a shame that there are people that are, shouting against you. But, I do hope that, down the road, something like this does get passed. Because I do think that you're only going to experience more stories like this. Because sadly, people who, have these kind of systems, they're going to bring that kind of stuff with them. Like it just happens. It is a part of your culture, your tradition. You're going to sometimes take it with you and you don't leave the bad things at the door. But that being said, I do think, I don't know. I'm trying to wrap this up in some kind of good way, but I don't know. I think Newsom just really dropped the ball here. It was fucking L take. I don't know. I think you could have just signed this bill, bada bing, bada boom. But I mean, I'm sure for him, maybe there was some backlash. Maybe he's like, oh, I don't want to like upset a community. I could just keep the status quo. I don't fucking know. But yeah, I do think that at least getting a chance to be heard is something. I'm happy to tell that story, and hopefully, a bill like this does get, signed for a state one day, if it's not today, So there you go. Try to put a bow on it. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a friend, and hopefully I'll see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.